Welcome to Spectrum News within the week. I am Imedion James coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at today's major headlines. President TINUBU approves incentives to unlock jobs, affects inflows. Governor Moino announces economic empowerment package for widows of fallen heroes. Plus, Trump to ban foreign aid over gender ideology diversity. We bring you details of these stories and more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for joining us on Spectrum News Recap. We begin the news within the week from a national scene where President Bola Tinubu has approved the gazetting of targeted investment-linked incentives to support the proposed Bonga Southwest Deep Offshore Oil Project. A statement by Special Advisor to the President's Media and Public Communication, Sunday Dare, noted that the President has also directed his Special Advisor on Energy, Olu Vehenjin, to facilitate the gazette of the incentives in line with Nigeria's existing legal and fiscal frameworks. Receiving Shell delegation led by its Global Chief Executive Officer, Sanwan, President Tinubu said disciplined, targeted, and globally competitive, designed to attract new capital without undermining government revenues. President Tinubu emphasized that the Bonga Southwest project is strategic to Nigeria's economy with the potential to create thousands of direct and indirect jobs, generate significant foreign exchange inflows, and deliver sustained government revenues over the life of the project. In the meantime, the governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, has met with President Bola Tinubu at the State House, Abuja. The governor arrived at the president's office within the week, reportedly spending over 3 hours in president's office before coming in. He declined to comment on the purpose of his visit. It is alleged that the visit comes amid reports of his possible defection from the New Nigeria's People's Party (NNPP) to the All Progressive Congress (APC). Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has ordered a full investigation into the gruesome killing of a housewife, Fatima Abubakar, and her 6 children at the Chirangsi community in Kano State. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the President condemned the attack, describing it as barbaric, and condoled with the bereaved family. Tinubu also commended the police for the swift arrest of the principal suspect and directed security agencies to ensure diligent prosecution. The President assured Nigerians of the federal government's commitment to protecting lives and properties, stressing that such acts of violence would not be tolerated. Also, President Bola Tinubu has approved the posting of 4 ambassador designates out of the 68 confirmed by the Senate last December. In a statement by the presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga, President Tinubu confirmed the posting of Ambassador Ayodele Oke as the ambassador designate to France and Colonel Latif are as the ambassador designate to the United States of America. Also confirmed by the president is the posting of Ambassador Amin Dahatu, former ambassador to South Korea, as the High Commissioner designate to the United Kingdom. Usman Isa Dankigari, former governor of Kebbi State, is ambassador designate to Turkey, where the president is scheduled to begin a state visit next week. In a related development, President Bola Tinubu has sworn in the newly appointed chairman and 37 commissioners of the Federal Character Commission (FCC) at the State House in Abuja within the week. The ceremony, which took place in the council chambers of the State House, saw the new FCC chairman Hulayat Omadiran sworn in alongside commissioners representing the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Omadiran, age 59, succeeds Dr. Mohiba Dankaka. Meanwhile, Mohammed Musa was also sworn in as Secretary of the Commission. The commissioners inaugurated include representatives from all states and the FCT. Among them are Dora Ebong from Akwa Ibom, Peter Eze Enugu, Abdulwazir Bawala, Lagos, Obinna Oriaku, Abia, and Dr. Stella Ekpo, Cross River, among others. In a separate development, Vice President Kashim Shettima left Abuja for Guinea-Conakry within the week for the inauguration of President Mamadi Doumbouya. His media aide Stanley Nkwocha made this known in a statement, disclosing that Shettima was billed to attend the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, after his participation in the presidential inauguration in Guinea-Conakry. This is coming after President Doumbouya's election victory. The ceremony was scheduled today at the JLC Stadium, Nogo, Conakry. In the meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima within the week led the Nigerian delegation to the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. The Vice President arrived from Conakry, Guinea, where he represented President Bola Tinubu at the presidential inauguration of President Mamadi Doumbouya. According to reports, Vice President Shettima will present Nigeria's 2026 economic outlook to the world's influential political and business leaders as he participated in key plenary sessions focused on the responsible development of artificial intelligence (AI), quantum computing, and biotechnology. Throughout the week, the president held bilateral meetings with heads of state, top executives of multinational corporations, and leaders of international development finance institutions to deepen partnerships that align with the renewed hope agenda of the administration of President Tinubu. Away from that, the Minister of Education, Dr. Alausa, within the week called for a comprehensive transformation of Nigeria's polytechnic education, emphasizing innovation, good governance, and sustainability as key drivers for national development. He made the call during a retreat organized by the Conference of Heads of Polytechnics, College of Education, and similar institutions for council chairmen, commissioners of education, rectors, registrar, and bursar in Abuja. Speaking on the theme, Transforming Polytechnic Education in Nigeria, Innovation, Good Governance, and Sustainability for National Development, the minister said Polytechnics were not mere institutions, but were crucible where innovation meets practicality, where skills forge economic resilience, and where sustainable development becomes a lived reality for the nation. In the meantime, the federal government has banned electricity distribution companies and installers from collecting any forms of payment for meters, warning that DISCO's officials and installers found extorting customers will be prosecuted. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, issued the warning during an on-site inspection of newly imported smart meters at APM terminals, Apapa, Lagos. Adelabu said the meters were procured under the World Bank-funded Distribution Sector Recovery Program and must be installed for consumers free of charge, stressing that any demand for money will be treated as an offense. Adelabu, who was received into the Papa Ports Command of the Nigerian Customs Service by Area Controller Emmanuel Oshaba, expressed happiness over the importation of another tranche of 500,000 smart meters under this RAB. He said the meters will be given to all electricity customers regardless of their ban. Meanwhile, the federal government has said that its security collaboration with the United States has strengthened counter-terrorism operations, especially in the Northeast, Northwest, and North Central. The government reiterated its commitment to strengthening cooperation to better protect lives and property across the country. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and Information and National Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris said that Nigeria was delighted that the security tie respect the country's sovereignty and prioritizes accountability and civilian protection. Ribadu and Idris spoke at a plenary session of the Nigeria-US Joint Working Group to address a country of particular concern designation of the country at the NSA office in Abuja. In another development, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has signed a formal concession agreement for the Akanu Ibiam International Airport in Enugu State. A statement by Special Advisor on Media and Communications to the Office of the Minister, Tunde Mushud, said the signing ceremony took place at the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Abuja, where the minister received a combined delegation of Enugu State government officials and representative of Aero Alliance, their concessionaire. Also present from the federal government side were the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Dr. Yakubu Adams, the Managing Director, Chief Executive of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Mrs. Olubumi Kuku, Director Legal Services FAN, Mrs. Bridget Gold, alongside other top officials of the ministry and FAAN. The development marks a major milestone in the federal government's drive to modernize Nigeria's aviation infrastructure through strategic public-private partnership and others. In his address, Keyamo described the event as the conclusion of a decade of transparent protest that began several years ago. Elsewhere, the federal government will cut down on borrowings and increase mobilization of foreign and domestic investment under a comprehensive strategy to accelerate economic growth. Yesterday, at the ongoing World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, He also said the government's fiscal strategy prioritizes revenue generation and sustainable financing. According to him, while Nigeria remains open to international capital markets, borrowing is no longer the first option, but rather the mobilization of domestic resources to fund development. He added that the government is implementing reforms to strengthen fiscal sustainability amid mounting global economic pressures. In this next report, the federal government has inaugurated a book ranking and selection committee. It will introduce reforms to cap the number of approved textbooks per subject, ensure transparent and objective ranking, and protect learners and parents from exploitative practices. The committee inaugurated in Abuja by Minister of Education Tunji Alausa is expected to improve the quality and affordability of textbooks used in Nigerian schools. The committee is chaired by the Minister of State for Education, Professor Suhaibu Ahmed, with members withdrawn from key education agencies. The agencies include the National Educational Research and Development Council, Universal Basic Education Commission, the National Teachers Institute, and the National Senior Secondary Education Commission.
Books and instructional resources remain the backbone of classroom instruction, guiding what learners studies and how teachers deliver lessons and how curriculum objectives are translated into meaningful learning outcomes. This initiative that we're about to launch and inaugurate, this committee aligns fully with the educational transformation agenda of the federal government under the renewed agenda of President Bola Ahmed TINUBU, GCFR, which prioritizes quality, assurance, system efficiency, accountability, equity, and value for money in public service.
We thank you for your foresight in setting up the committee in the first instance, and we also thank you for implementing the recommendation by the committee, which one of those recommendations is this committee. We thank you, and we also assure you of our dedication in terms of ensuring that both the students and the learners get.
Meanwhile, the federal government, in partnership with the Islamic Development Bank (ISDB), has launched a new bilingual school in Kano State, a move the Minister of State for Education, Professor Suhaibu Said, described as a practical investment in human capital development, social inclusion, and regional stability. The initiative, part of President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, aims to expand access to quality, inclusive, and future-oriented education, particularly for communities needing targeted interventions. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony in Kiru local government area of Kano State, Professor Ahmed emphasized the importance of bilingual education in strengthening foundational learning, improving communication, preserving cultural identity, and enhancing global competitiveness. She noted that the school allows students to gain both Islamic and conventional knowledge, empowering them to access wider resources and participate confidently in their communities. We move now to the Red Chambers, where the Senate within the week gave an assurance that Nigeria is working assiduously to rebuild its reputation perception on the global stage. Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Jibrin Baru, made the clarification during the official presentation of Nigerian Reputation Perception Index Report 2025, organized by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja. While describing national reputation as a strategic asset in an increasingly interconnected world, the lawmaker commended the development of a data-driven framework for assessing Nigeria's image across critical sectors. According to him, independent reports were essential for effective lawmaking and oversight. However, the Senate leader cautioned that reputation must be accorded on live realities and pledged legislative support for reforms that promote transparency, unity, and social justice. We move now to the Green Chambers, where the federal government within the week said that President Bola Tinubu's agricultural policies are now yielding positive results across the country. The Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, made the remark while delivering the opening address at the General Assembly of the All Farmer Association of Nigeria, AFAN, held in Abuja. All Farmer Association of Nigeria, AFAN, held in Abuja. Kalu pointed out that the removal of fuel subsidies by President Tinubu in 2023 redirected billions of naira towards agricultural mechanization, input distribution, and rural infrastructure. He further stated that the declaration of a national state of emergency in food security, the formation of the Agricultural Promotion Policy (AP), the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative (PFI), and other key economic policies of the current administration. Leader therefore urged farmers across the country to drive an agricultural revolution through local processing and export-oriented production, which, according to him, would accelerate economic diversification. On judicial matters, the Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal of the son of a former Jigawa State governor, challenging the decision of the trial court, which convicted him for failing to declare $40,000 at the airport. In a unanimous decision, the panel at the Apex Court dismissed the appeal of unmarried. Recall the operative of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) arrested Aminu on December 11, 2012 at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport while preparing to travel to Cairo, Egypt. The prosecution said Aminu declared $10,000 to the Nigerian Customs Service but was found with an additional $40,000 which was not disclosed on his currency declaration form. In another development, the National Association of Nigerian Students (NAS) within the week confirmed the release of 52 youth, including students of Ambrose League University, Ekpoma, Edo State, arrested on Monday for taking part in a protest over security matters in the community. In a statement signed by Comrade Oladojo Olushola, the National President Association said after profiling those arrested, it found that 38 were students of AAU and the remaining 14 were youth from their community. It added that it took steps to get non-students among the detained persons released too because of the connection between the youth and the students. Away from that, Rivers State House of Assembly has vowed to continue with the impeachment process against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Gozie Odu. The lawmakers who addressed a live press conference in Port Harcourt within the week accused Fubara of blackmail, saying he lacked the trust needed to address the crisis rocking the oil-rich state. They accused Governor of infringing on the 1999 Constitution, saying the Parliament was left with no other choice but to apply their legislative power by impeaching him from office. The lawmakers also claimed that the governor and his deputy had resorted to intimidating the Parliament. We'll take a quick break right now. When we return, news within the week continues. Many thanks for staying tuned. Let's go over to a foreign and business scene. Back here, the managing director of guard post firms along Airport Road in Akwa Ibom State, Ibanga Isine, within the week raised an alarm over the alleged destruction of farmlands by cattle, calling on the government to strengthen enforcement of the anti-open grazing law. Our correspondent completes the story.
And the Anti-Grazing Task Force, saying he expects the header to be identified and held accountable, also adding that he will do everything possible to make sure that this doesn't repeat itself again, not just for him, but all the farmers who have complained about these incidents in the past.
Headers have been bringing their cattle once in a while into these premises and destroying our crops. On the 8th, I heard the farm supervisor calling me, the voice with so much urgency, so I rushed down there, and by the time I got there, the cows had already invaded, breached the perimeter fence, and then came into the farm and they were eating plantains. So I didn't see the header. There were over 14 cows. I can't even count because there were so many. I have a picture. I made a report at the Ghana police station. They have not been able to identify the header because I want to prosecute that header. He had no right to come into my property to threaten me, and this thing has been happening a lot around this environment and across the state. Women who plant cassava don't harvest those crops. If we have to produce food in Akwa Ibom State, then the menace of Fulani herdsmen and their cattle should be stopped. The government should do something urgently, because if they could do that blatantly in broad daylight to me in my farm, then there's nothing they will do in the village. What they're doing in the villages are, this is just a child's play.
When asked about the anti-grazing law in the state, Alhaji Mohammed, leader of cattle dealers in Akwa Ibom State and a member of the Anti-Open Grazing Task Force, said the state anti-grazing law is yet to be fully enforced. He explained that the task force is currently empowered to act only after farmlands have been damaged and not to stop headers. According to him, investigations are ongoing to identify the owners of the cattle involved. Alhaji Mohammed added that once identified, the headers will be warned to stay away from the affected area and any damage caused will be paid for. He noted that arrests have been made in similar cases in the past and that the incident has significantly reduced between 2024 and 2025. He assured residents that the task force would do its best to ensure such incidents do not occur again. Meanwhile, other farmers in the area complained bitterly about the repeated encroachment by herders and cows and how their crops have been destroyed in past incidents. They called on the state government to strengthen enforcement measures to protect farmlands and prevent further losses. They further called on the owners and the dealers of the animals to provide ranches for their cows.
Usara fiang ita ita, ke song spren po. Aminda ada angkure umiange nangke ukang isu de meko. Atu di. Aminda anse ngute go si igbeme enangam. Efro erwo ngam etongo eta okom. Se di tang po na destroy po ngam eto. If inse fi ngam aminto awe na ase bo boko iwa abobono no enangata. Government enang gbo eba aken wanye enang. Amo ebene na amo no ka gasin ke ikoromo. Inu anu abok ida se bene kamari ka ge destroy mpo ingwa awu
aru moy mai mini na ngaru moy sane na ngaru ya ki control ge na ngaru esane ya no na ngaru do ingwa de usene do nda ngaru ntom bo nam boy na ngaru do ingwa abian bo na sen dan ju mu nyen kate ada ngaru di do ingwa ngene do biat boy bu kom ari do nga ai takero di destroying bo before nyedi dedi ni na ngaru ma ro up to 5. Mayum ya government is in boy bang bor because moy my tangi go yim mo boro ke boro e tege na ngaro dia kong mimo so mayum ya government is in boy bang adi namaro before no.
On January 8,
Recall that the anti-open grazing law in Akwa Ibom State was enacted in September 2021 when former Governor Dom Emmanuel signed the bill banning the open wearing and grazing of livestock into law after it was passed by the State House of Assembly.
He expects the
Let's move now to the foreign scene where European leaders rattled by Donald Trump's latest global gambit are looking to present a united front in Davos as CEOs warned against an emotional response to the US. President's ambition to take over Greenland, we can see in a speech by French President Emmanuel Macron when he said that the European Union should not bend to the law of the strongest, adding that it was crazy that the bloc was having to contemplate using its anti-coercion instrument against the United States. Without referring directly to Trump, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen highlighted the need to respond to seismic shift in the world and said the speed and scale of change had driven a consensus in Europe on independency. Also speaking was Prime Minister McKenna, who said Canada strongly opposes U.S. tariffs linked to Trump's push to take over Greenland, calling for focused talks and Arctic security cooperation. Meanwhile, thousands demonstrated in Zurich against U.S. President Donald Trump and the World Economic Forum as meeting got underway in Davos. Local police said some damage was caused to property and water cannons and tear gas were used to disperse the protesters. In the meantime, President Donald Trump demanded immediate talks on acquiring Greenland in hotline speech at Davos within the week, but said that while the United States proposed unstoppable force, it would not use it to take the Arctic island from Denmark. Trump's quest to take control of Greenland, which he said was needed for national and international security, dominated his address to the World Economic Forum as he returned for the first science apart. In a separate development, Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said on Friday that she had agreed with NATO Chief Mark Rutte that the alliance need to boost security in the Arctic following weeks of turmoil over U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to annex Greenland. The government of Denmark and Greenland, a Danish autonomous territory, insists that sovereignty over the island is not up for discussion, but has said they are open to talks on a wide range of other topics. Trump said on Thursday he had secured a total permanent U.S. access to Greenland after talks with Rutte, while the NATO chief said allies would have to step up efforts to ward off threats from Russia and China in the high north. In the meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has refused billions of dollars in potential foreign assistance so as to promote two of its frequent targets, which are gender, ideology, and diversity. According to U.S. officials, the move is being framed as an expansion of the State Department's Mexico City policy, in which Republican administrations dating back to Ronald Reagan have banned U.S. funding to non-governmental organizations that neither perform or are seen as promoting abortion. The new policy will protect foreign assistance from subsidizing not only abortion as a method of family planning, but also gender ideology, discriminatory equity ideology. So on the foreign scene, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Takachi has dissolved parliament within the week ahead of a snap election on February 8, counting on her cabinet's high poll numbers to steer her ruling party to victory. Recall that the country's first woman premier had announced her intentions on Monday, seeking public backing for measures to shield households from rising living costs and increased spending on defense. The Speaker of Parliament read out a letter officially dissolving the lower house within the week. Reports say the ruling coalition of Takachi's Liberal Democratic Party (LDP) and the Japan's Innovation Party (JIP) has only a slim majority in the powerful lower chamber. On our business news, President Bola TINUBU has approved the commencement of commercial oil drilling at Donjeji Island in Ikpokia, local government area of Ogun State. Governor Dapo Abiodun disclosed these while receiving the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Abubakar Abdullahi Mustafa, alongside senior officers of the command during a courtesy visit to his office in Oke Musa, Abeokuta. The governor also revealed that the president had approved the immediate takeoff of the Olakola Deep Sea Port project located in Ogun Waterside local government area, describing the decision as a major breakthrough after years of anticipation surrounding the multi-billion-dollar port project. Abiodun said both projects were of special interest to President TINUBU, noting that while Olakola Deep Sea Port will significantly decongest the Lagos port, commercial oil drilling at Donjeji Island would promote inclusion and economic empowerment for residents of coastal communities. Still in business, Nigeria's equity market recorded a historic performance in 2025 as total transactions rose sharply to 11.92 trillion naira, driven by a resurgence in foreign portfolio participation and sustained dominance by domestic investors. According to the domestic and foreign portfolio participation in equity trading summary of transactions as of 31 December 2025, released by the Nigerian Exchange Limited yesterday, market activities more than doubled from 5.59 trillion naira in 2024 to 11.92 trillion naira in 2025, reflecting a year-on-year growth of 113.39%. On a monthly basis, market momentum accelerated strongly towards year-end. Total transactions increased by 42.13% from 971.1 billion naira in November 2025 to 1.39 trillion naira in December 2025. Still to come in the news. CAF fines Algeria $100,000, suspends player after Nigeria's clashed. Searching for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. Let's go over now to our health, sports and entertainment news. In health, the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Christina Adeyeye, within the week, assured Nigerians of the agency's commitment to reducing crimes associated with food registration processes in order to safeguard public health. Adeyeye said NAFDAC had adopted technology to prevent the undermining of enforcement effectiveness, warning that regulatory tools must keep pace with increasingly sophisticated criminal networks. She disclosed these at a press briefing in Lagos, where she said regulatory modernization had become a strategic imperative to ensure that the agency's system remained credible, efficient, transparent, and fit for purpose, while protecting public health and supporting access to quality, safe, and effective regulated products. According to her, NAFDAC modernization drive is anchored on 5 strategic pillars: strong leadership with governance, institutionalization of best practices, safety and quality of regulated products, continuous along the supply chain, and efficient financial and performance management. Still in health, the Benue State Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Dr. Paul Onauche, has disclosed that 2 people have died from Lassa fever in the state. Recall that the Commissioner had on Sunday alerted residents to an outbreak of the disease, stating that 7 people had been infected. Speaking to journalists in Makurdi, Onauche said there had been an upsurge in Lassa fever cases in the state over the past 2 weeks. According to him, 2 additional suspected cases were recently recorded on the state dashboard, bringing the total number of suspected cases to 9, out of which 5 tested positive, with 2 fatalities recorded. He identified Makurdi and Bukuru local government areas as the most affected, adding that 2 health workers were among those infected. Still in health, child health experts have warned that untreated peptic ulcer disease in children would lead to anemia, shock and bleeding, stressing the need for early diagnosis and appropriate treatment. They noted that although ulcers are less common in children and adults, they do occur particularly among school-age children and adolescents and are often overlooked until complications arise. In an interview with newsmen within the week, the pediatricians explained that peptic ulcer disease in children is commonly caused by infection with the bacterium Helicobacter pylori, as well as the indiscriminate use of pain-relieving drugs such as ibuprofen, aspirin, and diclofenac. Other risk factors, they said, include poor hand hygiene, malnutrition, severe infections, burns, and chronic illnesses that weakens immune system. They added that prolonged untreated ulcer could result in blood loss through vomiting or passage of ductules, leading to iron deficiency anemia, which may rapidly make affected children pale and weak and require urgent medical attention or blood transfusion. We move now to sports, where Super Eagles within the week soared to the 26th spot in the latest FIFA World Ranking, released by the football governing body. The ranking disclosed on FIFA's website marks a remarkable 12th-place jump. Nigeria's rise from 38 followed the team's remarkable campaign at the 2025 African Cup of Nations AFCON in Morocco. The Super Eagles finished 3rd after aiding the Pharaohs of Egypt last Saturday. Meanwhile, the top 10 in the latest FIFA ranking are the regulars. They are Spain, Argentina, France, England, Brazil, Portugal, the Netherlands, and Morocco. Belgium and Germany in Africa. In Africa, the top 10 countries are Morocco, Senegal, Nigeria, Algeria, Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Tunisia, Congo, and Mali. In the meantime, Super Eagles midfielder Rafael Onyedika within the week said that he's eager to leave Belgian Pro League outfit club before the end of the current transfer window. According to report, Turkish Super League champions Galatasaray have indicated keen interest in the defensive midfielder and have agreed to personal terms with his representatives. Club Barch have, however, rejected Galatasaray's bid for Nigeria's international and intend to keep the 24-year-old until the end of the season. Meanwhile, Onyedika has 1.5 years left on his contract with Berger. Still in sport, the Confederation of African Football has handed down multiple sanctions against Algeria and its players following misconduct during and after the African Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 quarter-final against Nigeria within the week. The sanctions include the suspension of 2 Algerian players and a series of fines totaling $100,000 over the conduct of the team, officials and supporters. Recall that the incident occurred immediately after the final whistle as the Super Eagles and fans falling goals by Algerian players and fans disputed, particularly over an alleged missed penalty called in their favor. Away from that, Jadon Sancho scored his first goal for Aston Villa within the week as it defeated Fenerbahce in Istanbul to secure qualification for the Europa League last 16 with a game to spare. Sancho converted from close range in the 25th minute after connecting with Mati Cash deflected cross. The win marked Villa's 6th victory in their opening 7 Europa League matches, placing them 3rd in the league phase table and confirming a top 8 finish. Despite controlling most of the game, Villa relied on a VAR decision late on when Karim equalizer was ruled out for offside in the build-up. Villa created several chances to extend their lead, with Sancho and Morgan Rogers both having goals or efforts denied, while Cash struck the post from distance. Goalkeeper Marco Bigot also made a crucial second-half save to preserve the narrow but decisive victory. Lastly, on the news at this hour, Adejeje Adeleke, father of Nigerian music star Davido, has opened up on how the family coordinated several DNA tests to determine whether 12-year-old Anu is the singer's daughter. Recall that the paternity controversy involving Davido and the alleged daughter surfaced mid-January. In an Instagram post shared on January 15, Anu alleged that she had been subjected to bullying and mockery over claims that Davido, whose real name is David Adeleke, is her father. She said the situation had affected her mental health and subsequently demanded that the singer undergo a DNA test to confirm her paternity. Reacting, however, Adeleke told newsmen that before the matter reached them, social media personality Kemi Oluloyo had alleged that the child might be Rich Davido's cousin. And that's all we have for you at this time. To ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News within the week. I am Emedion James. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.